Hello, my name is Graham Ferguson, and today I am going to be talking to you about a problem that I hold very close to my heart. I have been fly fishing for close to 3 years now, and I have had an interest in fish basically my entire life, and it has played a huge role in who I am, and it is basically, it's a lifestyle. And it's got me through a lot, and there's nothing else in the world I would rather do than be on the water fishing. So I appreciate your guys' time to watch my video. Yeah, here you go. This is the Cutthroat Crisis. The cutthroat trout are the only native game fish species to Colorado. The only trout to be here before Europeans were, essentially. Before any stocking efforts were made in Colorado, cutthroat trout were the only game fish in Colorado. There are three strains. There is the Colorado River cutthroat trout, the Rio Grande strain cutthroat trout, and the greenback cutthroat trout. And they have since gone extinct, but in the Twin Lakes, there used to be a fourth species called the yellowfin cutthroat trout, which could grow up to 10 pounds. So they had potential to get pretty big. However, the cutthroat trout have since had a major decline. They used to be all over the state, and they now occupy less than 5% of their original habitat. And this is a very, very, very large problem for a lot of the fisheries in Colorado, as these native fish need to be protected and preserved, as they were there before any other species of fish was. And this is a problem that needs to be solved. A lot of people have tried to solve the problem through reintroduction and stocking into many different lakes and river systems. However, those do not have a high success rate, and I do not believe that that is the right course of action. Some of the proposed solutions out there have been to use tributaries to separate them from the non-native species of trout that have been introduced, such as the rainbow trout, the brook trout, and the brown trout, none of which are native to Colorado. In fact, the brown trout is actually a European native and has never been in North America till humans introduced them. And all three of those trout will outcompete cutthroats for resources, holding areas in rivers, prime spawning riffles, everything like that. They get shut down, and they end up dying off because they can't compete with these new species, because they never had to. They've never had to compete with any other species of fish besides other cutthroat trout. And there was a project called the Herman Gulch Project done by Trout Unlimited, which is a charity organization that does lots of efforts to conserve cold water fisheries across North America. This was done at a place called Herman Gulch, which is a small stream tributary of Clear Creek, and they stocked it with large amounts of juvenile cutthroat trout. All throughout that, the organization has done a lot of other things like this, and the CPW has stocked lots of high alpine lakes all over Colorado. However, a majority of them were never populated with fish before the CPW introduced them. So while it is stocking cutthroat trout, it is, in a way, it's really not where they used to be. They didn't used to be in those lakes, so this isn't gaining back ground. It's almost just expanding them and putting them in places that they weren't before. And that there's definitely a problem with that, namely because you can't get a self-sustaining population of cutthroat trout in a high alpine lake unless there is a inflow or a creek connected to it that the fish can spawn in. Or even in some lakes, they can spawn without an inflow, but it is incredibly difficult, and the success rate of juvenile fish is much lower. Now, these are all solutions that have been tried and tried and tried again, but none of them have been altogether a resounding success. And I think that a lot of this comes down to us as people and anglers of Colorado. Now, my solution for this involves the rampant mishandling of trout, and particularly cutthroat trout, that happens all over Colorado. You can go onto many sites, social media platforms, and you will see people posting pictures of trout that they've caught, and they will be holding them by the mouth like this, lipping them. However, trout are not like bass, and they have extremely fragile jaws that will break incredibly easily, and this is not healthy for the fish to have their organs hung vertically. This is a huge problem. Not many people are actually aware that this hurts fish, and it needs to be addressed among the angling population, as well as people using bait and other harmful fishing techniques in areas where cutthroat trout are present. This involves fish swallowing the entirety of the hook and end up dying. And if their gills bleed or anything like that, the life expectancy is not very high. If the fish starts to bleed, it is almost guaranteed to die. And people don't understand this. And this is an extreme problem, particularly in Colorado. We have lots of people moving here and enjoying the fishing, but not a lot of them actually know what they're doing, and they don't know how to hold trout. And this is a problem that needs to be addressed immediately, and this will help us greatly improve cutthroat trout populations. Another instance is where people can't tell the difference between a cutthroat trout and a non-native fish species, so they might take a cutthroat trout home to eat, even though they should not be, as that is a native fish that is protected. A majority of them are actually endangered, so there's no place for people taking these fish home to eat. People don't understand how to identify them as opposed to other native trout. And my solution for this is that people, when they buy their first Colorado fishing license, which is a requirement to fish in the state of Colorado unless you are 16 years old, you should be required to take a multiple choice quiz after you are given a pamphlet that describes how to tell the difference between rainbow trout, brook trout, brown trout, and cutthroats, how to handle those fish, where they live, the rules for fishing in waters where they are present, and other such things. And and after that, they should be required to take a easy multiple choice quiz that is directly related to what they read about in the pamphlet. And I believe this test should be repeated once every 5 years, similar to a driver's license or any other license. Hunting licenses have you do this. You have to take courses per tag, I believe, even for any animal you want to get. You have to read a bunch about the rules regarding that species and everything like that. And I just think that you should have to, you should at least have a little bit of knowledge about these fish and how to properly take care of them, because so many people don't care to do so. In this slide, for instance, I have a rainbow trout on the left and a cutthroat trout on the right, both caught by me. And the way to tell the difference is because the cutthroat trout, as you can see, is not present on the rainbow. The cutthroat trout has a very distinctive bright orange slash underneath its mouth, right where the gill plate comes down. It can also be red or a yellow color. So anything like that is a dead giveaway that fish has cutthroat genes in it. And then one of the other giveaways is the presence of larger and fewer spots, generally clustered towards the tail. With rainbows, they're spread pretty evenly throughout the fish, but on cutthroats, the spots are really, really like focused on the tail, and then not very prevalent the further you move up from the fish. The fins are darker on most cutthroat trout, and they typically have more red as opposed to pink that cutthroats have, or that rainbows have more pink, cutthroats have more red and orange and other stuff like that. So, in conclusion, I think that while stalking efforts need to be made, and projects such as moving them into tributaries that they once occupied can be a good thing. I think that the problem really lies within us as the anglers who are targeting them, and this problem really needs to be fixed quickly and efficiently. And I hope that this is something that the CPW will look into. If I can get any more resources to help expand on this idea, I would really appreciate it. And yeah, thank you guys for your time.